So I thought I would say a few words about what it means to be powerless over alcohol. And, when I was 14, maybe 15 years old, I'm not even sure how old I was, but I think I was in the Volunteers of America. So that would have put me between 14 and a half and 15 years old. And I got into a fight with this kid. And I thought for sure I could whip him because I'm really fast, physically I'm fast. And we got to tussling, and as we were falling down, I spun my body around to where he would hit the floor underneath me, but he was so fast that he spun again, and I landed on my back with him on my chest, and he had his knees over my arms, pinning my arms down, and he had his hand up like this. And I thought for sure he's going to blast me. But he stopped and just looked at me. And I was so stunned and so filled with respect for his ability to fight that I got humble. And I said, fair fight. My ego didn't want to do it, but I made myself say it, fair fight, because it was the truth. And he let me up, But that's not what alcohol did to me. And it's also not how I responded to alcohol. When alcohol kicked my ass, it just kept kicking my ass and kept kicking my ass and kept kicking my ass over and over and over again. And basically what alcohol was doing was like the biggest favor anyone could do me, relatively speaking. I mean, a pretty darn big favor, just like the guy who had me down, and he could have clocked me, he could have beat the dog snot out of me. Well, I wasn't willing to say, okay, you win. So I just clocked me for 19 years. I drank without realizing that all I had to do was really listen. And what alcohol was saying, do you understand? Do you understand? Do you get it? Is this clear to you yet? And when we get powerless, when we get humble, when we get honest, we have a moment of clarity. And alcohol and I looked each other in the eyes, and I said, I'm powerless. And I got my power back, if you will. So I got honest with myself for the first time in my life that I was an alcoholic and I was powerless over alcohol and my life was unmanageable. I didn't care if my life was unmanageable before, but powerlessness, nope, couldn't go for that. That was a tough one. So on August 19th of 90, I did that. I finally got honest. And as soon as I got honest, I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to my original condition, to the Timothy that's always existed. It's always been there. But while I was drinking, it was like hidden. And it's only found through humility, I guess, or honesty. Maybe honesty is a better word. Because honesty doesn't have to be humble. A person can be pride-ridden and still admit something. But I think it's really hard to do so when the ego is running the store. And it's pretty unlikely it's going to happen. So, but I came to believe power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And at 3:30 in the morning, August 19th of 90, I looked at the clock. That's how I know what time it was. And I knew I wasn't going to drink again. And I turned my will in my life over to the care of God as I understand God. And there's no two people on planet Earth that understand God the same way. And in fact, I probably don't understand God the same way minute to minute or day to day. And, you know, I had this one experience with my ex-wife, and it was a big moment in her life. And it was a big moment in mine too, but I didn't recognize it as the bigger moment as she recognized it as the bigger moment. And I was getting ready to go to my Maplewood, Minnesota home group. And, you know, I had my jacket on, it was winter time, and I had my hand on the door, and, you know, the door was open and I was ready to step out. She said, Timothy, and stood at the top of the stairs, and I looked up at her. And she said, you have to choose between me and that alcohol program. And it didn't take me long to sort that one out. And I said, well, I think that I can have both. I think I can go to these meetings and work with this program and have you, you know? And I said, I love you, but I think I can have both. Now, if you don't think that both can exist in the same place and time, you have a decision to make. But my decision is that I can have both, and I think they are compatible. And later she said that, you know, I said, well, I'm going to my meeting, and I left. I said, I love you, and I left. And I went to the meeting. I didn't leave the marriage. I didn't quit loving her, but at some point she told me that was the most painful moment in her entire life, which, you know, I'm sure it was very painful for her, but it struck me as somewhat narcissistic, maybe. I don't know. But whatever it was, I just realized, I analyzed it, and I asked people, I said, you know, this is what's happening. She wants me to choose. And I think I'm good for going to these meetings and stuff. And someone just said, well, just ask yourself some simple questions. Is this program good for your life, or is it bad for your life? Is it good for your marriage, or is it bad for your marriage? Is it good for your job, or is it bad for your job? Is it good for your relationships and friendships and all the aspects of your life? Just look at them one at a time and ask yourself, is this good for my life, you know, these areas, or is it bad for me? And then weigh it out. And I did that. And I couldn't find one aspect of my life that it wasn't helping, that it wasn't improving. It was, you know, building me into a better human being, a better man, a better husband, a better employee constantly. And it kept me maintaining a degree of spirituality. You know, I was maintaining my spirit. And when I'm healthy, I can feed other people that way too, including my ex at the time, my wife. And so I just didn't see any reason to quit that. And eventually, you know, divorce papers were signed on me and submitted, and you know, we went through a divorce. And it wasn't the only reason. You know, there's a lot of things that went into it. But the idea of being powerless and honest and admitting when we've had our butts kicked. And you know, she didn't understand all that. She had never known me when I was a practicing drunk. And I remember another day she said, the only reason that you believe in this step 3 business, step 3 being we turned our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. She said, the only reason you do that is because you've got weak willpower. You can't do it on your own. And I said, well, maybe so, but let me ask you a question. How many times did you get drunk in your life? And I knew the answer to it already because she had told me. She said, well, I got drunk once. And I never did it again. I quit. I just said, I'm never doing this again. And I said, well, I got drunk probably hundreds of times and got sick, maybe even more, maybe thousands. I don't know. It's not like I was counting. But for 19 years of drinking, I got drunk, and almost every time I got drunk, I was puking. I was sick because I didn't stop drinking until my body tried to save me from myself. Alcohol's a toxin, it's a poison, and the body knows it needs to get rid of it. And if it can, it will. So, and I just said, I didn't quit, no matter how sick I got. And so it seems clear to me that if you got drunk once and got sick once and quit, that you have an obvious lack of willpower. Because I did it all those times, and my willpower wouldn't quit. I kept at it. And it was an interesting twist of things. And she didn't have an answer for that. She just kind of blinked a couple of times, looked up into the air, as we do when we hear something that's kind of new to our consciousness. And so I don't know. I just wanted to throw out a few ideas on what it means to have our asses kicked, what it means to understand something at a really deep level. So take what you like and leave the rest. And like my hat says, I got this gifted to me from someone who actually ended up really disliking me because he had relapsed and was in denial. And I said something to him in a conversation, and he just shocked me when he called me all these names and told me I was a piece of what and stuff. And I thought, well, it's just alcohol talking. It's not him. But he had gifted this hat to me at some point. Fear knocked on the door. Faith answered. No one was there. And fear is like false evidence appearing real. It's ego. When ego is running in the store, we got a problem. And when faith is running in the store, there can be no problems. We can't be off our spiritual path. It's impossible. My ex wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong. We divorced, but yet we're still on our respective paths. And in the big picture, we're all in this together. Nobody goes home until everyone goes home. So, judgment is, a tough thing. It's the addiction, the misery is tied into judgment. And it's a playground that I don't want to play in. So peace out, y'all. Love ya.